Alright. So we should be back now. Okay, so let's get back to it. I think I only lost some footage that I went really out of my way to get. We routed in the DLC first, just so that we could see that scene, and I don't know if it's replayable. Let's go find out. So, in the first encounter with Sif, you will see a cutscene play if you have done the DLC beforehand and met Sif during the DLC, because the DLC takes place in the past. And after you've triggered the fight the first time, I don't think that scene replays. We're gonna go find out. Because apparently, the streaming program cut out, and I was not aware that the stream was not recording, because the program doesn't say disconnected, it just stops working for some reason. And then it won't allow me to end the stream or restart the stream until I've restarted OBS. Yeah, I will never see that cutscene again during this playthrough, so we're just not going to see it. I didn't know Sif could go up there. So, a lot of the Sif fight is you get under Sif and then wail away, and Sif has a real hard time hitting you while you're down here. So it's a super easy fight. I really just skipped it earlier because I wanted to show off that little interaction. Alright. By acquiring the item there that was just dropped, the Covenant of Artorias, we can now traverse the Abyss to face the Four Kings. So now, we need to head back and open up New Londo. Just going to use this and teleport back to Firelink. Now, the routing through New Londo is not something I remember super well, because it's a complex area. There are ways to get through New Londo that are basically just fall down through the whole thing and move on with your day. While I'm here, I'm going to go see the Undead Merchant Woman and turn the rest of these souls into Transient Curses, which we can use to face off against... which we can use to fight the ghosts down there. Because I don't know how many attempts we'll have to make on this location. Go around the edge, and there we go. I don't know if those guys can even follow us in here. I've never seen it happen. Okay, I'm not here for moss or that. We're here for Transient Curses. We can only buy 4 of them because she only has so many to sell. I think she'll sell them until you have 10 in inventory, and then she just won't sell you anymore. So you can't stockpile them to an absurd degree like you can with, say, resins. Oh, ha! They've all kind of bundled up here, and I somehow triggered a backstab on somebody. There's a bit of oddity there that you might have also noticed, where I kind of hit the wall, but even though I hit the wall, it still did trigger the hit on the hollow on the other side. That's the thing about the hitbox. The hitbox is big enough that you can clank into the wall, and the hitbox is still going through the wall far enough to like have an effect. Yeah, it's a good thing I grabbed that Titanite slab, because I have no idea where I left the Pyromancy Trainer behind. He is somewhere out there. You know, I think the Pyromancy Trainer is in Blighttown. He's out in the swamp. He's like hanging out on one of those islands, and I just skipped over, didn't bother to find him. And you can tell him to go back to Firelink, and if I had done that, I could get an Ascended Pyromancy Flame, and then hand that over to Snuggly the Crow to get another red Titanite slab, but I won't need it. Okay, so this trek is kind of nightmarish, and usually the best thing to do about... Oh, we've got a... Oh, right, this is where he goes. Oh, and he can parry. This is the despondent guy who hangs out at Firelink Shrine. And that's right, he goes hollow and comes down here. And now he's just an insane sumbitch who's gonna come at us. I didn't know he actually had a parry during his block stance, so I'm gonna have to take him a bit more seriously. There's a lot of NPCs just don't have the capacity to parry, and you can just wail into their shield with weapons that hit hard enough, and they'll completely die, just because the attack power you get up to with late game weapons is actually just super crazy. But yeah, I forgot he was over here. I also forget the trigger for him going hollow. I think he goes hollow after you've completed Anor Londo, something like that. The game progresses through kind of stages in that sense. There's kind of the initial stage of the game where you haven't rung any bells. There's the game state after you've rung one bell, and then you have the Sen's Fortress open, the trip to Anor Londo. And a lot of NPCs are kind of iterative. We'll just hit you first. And now he's dead. We can't equip shields, so our best way to deal with anybody is just to hit them first. Alright, we are going to change out the silver pendant for Transient Curses. And we'll never need to use more than 2 Transient Curses in navigating this area. They last for a pretty good long time. Now, because these are Transient Curses... Oh, nice, we one-shot ghosts. That's going to be real helpful, because ghosts are nasty. Real nasty. About that nasty. Okay. Let's remember where all the ghosts spawn here. There's a lot. No. Stop it. That should be that room. Oh, there's one more in the floor. Cool. Right. So if we get far enough here, we'll be able to unlock the other side of that elevator, which we can use as a shortcut. So, down there... Yeah, thankfully, we can attack into walls sometimes. So down there is all flooded, and if we jump down currently, we'll die, but that is actually explorable area that we'll be able to get down to a little later. Once we have drained the water, which is what we're currently here to do. Kill you, look behind, moving on. Over here, there is a red-eyed ghost. They are pretty nasty. Cool, we got more Transient Curses. Climb down and check out this area. That's pathable, but I don't think there's anything there. Let's see. Down here, we might have some other ghosts or something. I think that's death right now, because it's too flooded. Some of these guys down here are just poised to, like, mess you up when you run along this place without coming down here first. Ugh. This is Spooky Town for sure. Like, this is kind of where they dial up the horror factor, and that's going to be probably a little bit more evident once I've drained the water and we can go down in this place for real. I think I need to take that ladder back up now. So I think I've exhausted the areas I can explore that are down here. No, nothing there. Okay. I'm going to keep along this, But taking the ladder and doing the slow and careful thing eases off the pressure for this area up here that we're about to check out, because we won't have anything coming up at us. We just have the ghosts that are above us. Be wary of ghost. Yeah, no kidding, buddy. Okay, so now we're able to go through here a little more slowly. The reason why there are bloodstains here is because if you run through that area, you will be absolutely swarmed with ghosts. Is it dead end over there? I think so. Oh yeah, this next room up here is also full of ghosts. They are aggroed at us through the walls. They're super rude in all cases. There's one in that wall. We're not going to have the time to chug there because it took us too many swings to trade with that ghost. So that building is going to be the really rough stuff for us to get through, but I believe that at the end of that building we have access to the, what's it called? To the elevator that we can skip further. So we are going to just kind of blitz through stuff for a bit and see what we can do with just blitzing our way to that building and avoiding everything. So I'll be not using any Transient Curses for a couple of attempts and seeing if we can survive that jog. I think that this next attempt, I will take the jump that's listed as dead end. And I think I might be able to run through ghosts. That kind of tracks, so they can't body block me. Of course, the nastiest thing is going to be if I get tagged by the grab attack, I'll be super dead. And when there's like 6 ghosts trying to get you with a grab attack, one of them might get it. You gotta be careful of that. So, this area, New Londo, was basically sealed and flooded because the people around here became depraved. They discovered the arts of the Dark Wraith and of just, like, ripping humanity directly out of other people. Super messed up. And it's totally a thing that you... No, they do body block me. Okay, so I absolutely need to pop a Transient Curse because that ghost blocking the doorway will prevent me from getting through here. That's right, Dark Souls, you can't walk through ghosts. Ghosts can walk through walls. You can't walk through them. Alright, so we'll have to kill that one at least. And actually, if we have to kill that one, we should probably kill at least half of them along the way, because they are going to mess us up. I think a divine weapon might be able to hurt ghosts without a transient curse, but every other kind of weapon requires a transient curse. Oh, I was starting to mention earlier, Transient Curse is notably transient. You can also just become cursed, which is a really nasty status debuff in the game. You will become cursed if you will become cursed if you're killed by some very specific enemies, and it has a visual effect of turning the character to stone. And while you're cursed, your health is just cut in half. And it costs like 8,000 souls to buy the item that fixes cursing. And that item is only available from a couple of merchants. But that does allow you to kind of hit your head into ghosts ad nauseum as much as you want, except for the fact that in our current build, where we are not allowed to put points into, you know, stamina, or vitality, I believe it is in this game, we are just, if we were at half health, we would be one-shottable by, that would probably kill us. That would kill us. This series of errors would kill us. There we go. Ghosts will almost always wind up going for a grab if you drink Estus anywhere in this entire area, so it's a trick. I mean, the ghosts move slow, so you can build distance and go for it. Running low on stamina just by chopping down a lot of ghosts. I believe that should be all of them for there. So we're going to come through here. We didn't actually need to run over there. I just did it out of habit. And then we come up here. We're going to just cope with a lot of ghosts being behind us after we do this, because all the ghosts that are beneath us have just activated. And that's why the ladder exists, so that you can go down that route. And then here, I'm just going to jump and be over here, so I can head down here, avoid that grab attack, get this item, because having loose items hanging out just damages my sanity a little bit. And then we're going to come up over here. There's something else in the walls, and I think I can go over here and like back up. And is this where I needed to go? I think this might be where I needed to go. In which case, cool. Okay, yeah, I think it's in that building, like the top is what I need to be at. I'm going to foolishly grab this humanity. This is pretty much a bad idea. Kind of setting myself up for all these guys to get distance on me. Ow. And then now I'm going to roll over here and run along this rooftop for a bit. Check there, that's a nice way to fall. Cool. I'm going to grab this. Neat. It's useless, actually. Ow. Ow. Various building ghosts. Okay, so all of these are just holes that I could fall into. Super cool. I did not make that jump, but thankfully this is all also terrain where we live in. So we're going to head over here. I think this might be it. Okay, if I activate this, it doesn't move. Okay. Locked? I think the key's inside that building over there. Just to mess with me. Okay, so here, yep, we're out on these kind of parapets overlooking the Valley of Drakes that I pointed out earlier. This is dead end. Okay, yeah, so we're going to have to take like a death run inside that building to get that key, to unlock that thing, to move this elevator, so that we can take the elevator up to the point where we need to turn a switch. And that's the process. try and fight and kill a few things up on this rooftop to the extent that I can. Reduce the interior ghost threat a little bit. Alright, I believe this is not a lethal fall if I just wanted to try falling into this room. The question is, which part of the room do I fall into? And, like, how far from lethal would that fall be? Because I'm probably going to get attacked by ghosts as soon as I land. Those two are down. We have very little Estus left. Crack you. Okay, I'm just going to fall here. Okay, not a very damaging fall, actually. Okay. And we've got a red-eyed ghost here, and some other things that are going to spawn up. And, oh, cool, our curse ran out. Let's book it. The red-eyed ghosts, I'm not sure if they can float. Okay, cool, this puts me up here. Hey, buddy. This guy's not actually, This guy is not actually hollow, so we can actually talk to him. He will hand us the key if we have the Lord Vessel. If you don't have the Lord Vessel, you can kill him for the key anyway. I mean, you don't have to be a nice guy. So I'm going to crawl down this ladder and most likely die. Because, like, there's even there's even ghosts that are attacking me while I'm on the ladder. Because they are so rude, and they do not care what I think is fair. Try and get through here, ignore you. You're just a spooky wall ghost. Oh, great. How useful is that? Interesting thing about the ghost grab, it does not trigger if you're close to the ghost. You'll only get actually grabbed if you're near kind of the edge of the scythe that they're extending. So you can avoid the ghost grab by just being more aggressive and running at the ghosts. Be not afeared, young one. Okay, so we actually got through that. We killed a lot of ghosts. We got the key and got back out. So that's pretty good. And with this, we can push this lever, which will open these grand doors, thus draining the water out of New Londo and allowing us to explore it more fully. So that's the easy half of New Londo. Not kidding. So this elevator should now trigger. There's a lot of stuff in New Londo that we could totally easily miss. That will take us further down. And you can see that everything here is slick. So now we're just walking on piles of corpses absolutely everywhere we go. That are just sort of compacted down here. And we're going to meet these guys now, which are Dark Wraiths. I didn't remember them just kind of patiently waiting like that, so I guess we're going to backstab a lot of Dark Wraiths. So the Dark Wraiths are important to the lore of this because, and you know, they're kind of hanging out here. Be wary of leg. They're kind of hanging out around here, despite all the flooding and stuff. They're the ones who ruined the place. Anyway, by kind of stealing everybody's humanity. Be wary of left. Pretty sure that's because a Dark Wraith was going to run in here. Yep, and they can also do this, where they just kind of like do this big attack that suctions your face. So that was good for about half, a little over half my health. If you are carrying any humanity, they will take some when they do that attack. I don't think this is the Abyss, is it? It is not. That's just noting that you're going to need the ring later. Ow. Let's get this done. So apart from Dark Wraiths, we also have these guys, which are distinctly awful. And I'm out of Estus. We're going to pop a Humanity for healing, because we have a lot. And I don't recall if these things respawn. You can see they're just kind of like these shaggy, awful corpse masses. We also have some exploding skulls. More Dark Wraith. So the two things that make this area awful is that we have this scattered mess of enemies, each of which is pretty individually tough, and that is coupled along with having no bonfires in the entire area. So I'm actually going to hotbar Humanity, so that we can use that for a while. Because I'm not going to get healed without going back out of this place, and I'm not a fan of going in and out and doing everything twice. Oh, we have another Dark Wraith over here. There's a lot of little hidden guys. Whew. Yeah, you try that. If you could let me just circle behind you. Cool. Thankfully, we've got a lot of humanity to just crack away, and we don't care one way or another about having it or losing it or whatever. We're not going to get anything out of humanity at this point anyway. We could use it to kindle bonfires. As I said, there are no bonfires here, so who cares? I think this actually takes us back up to the area earlier with the ghosts. Yep, and we can access this from here on out, so we can get to this spot a lot faster. Of course, if we have to come back here and do that, all these extra Dark Wraiths are going to respawn, and that will be super fun. So, we're going to try and deal with what we can, and hopefully get the rare items that are around here without having to fight the Dark Wraiths a dozen times. Because every single one of those fights is a bit risky. We're not going to encounter any more ghosts here in the drowned area from what I recall. And what I'm on the lookout for around here is the all-important Ember that will allow us to get up to plus 15, which I believe is right here. Yep, Imminent Amazing Ember. So that gives us the option to max out some of our equipment. And yeah, that's been hanging out here for a while. We could have come back here before doing the DLC or done some stuff like that, and I just opted to work with different stuff. Okay, so naturally the thing that's going to be most tricky about all this is kind of having our routing down for the boss. So the elevator drops us off kind of back over here, and we might find ourselves having to run up through this area. I think this is the way forward from there. It's a little soggy. Got some more Dark Wraith action. They're not a fan of being set on fire, like a lot of other things. He'll drop us a Dark Hand. The Dark Hand is actually a weapon that allows us to do that humanity training attack that they're able to do. It's kind of stylish. It does, like, function as a grab, so it's not blockable, which can make it kind of neat in PvP, but it is still, like, it's totally difficult to land on somebody. They have a lot of time to deal with it. Cracked Red Eye Orbs, a consumable that allows invasions. Over here, we'll have another Dark Wraith, who I was hoping to just kill with a plunging attack, but he actually went into his 4-hit sequence and murdered us. Neat. Okay, so we're gonna have to run back through some stuff now. It is somewhere in that area where I need to, that I need to run over to. to get to the boss fight. And because we don't get any bonfires in New Londo itself, the closest bonfire to this fight is actually Firelink Shrine. And this is probably the boss run that has the most enemies between you and the boss. There are tricky ways of doing this. Like there's a very specific spot you can go to and like fall down and do this fancy junk to avoid a lot of the stuff on the way. I do not remember how to do that. I'm not in the mood to look it up online right now. Maybe if I make like 5 boss attempts and they don't go well, maybe then I'll look it up so I can take a shortcut. So with the water drain, we can actually see down more through this area. A lot of these spots here, you still can't jump down to. It's still quite a lethal drop. I think maybe over here is how that drop worked. Yeah, because I believe this is all, like, pathable area. Yeah. So this drops us back down to the soggy point from before. I need to dodge that better. Whoops. So, okay, so we can get back down to this part really fast. There's the well earlier. I think it's only, like, a little bit up over that way to get over to the boss. But I definitely have to get through a couple of dark wraiths every time. How's everybody else doing tonight? I hope your day has not been too hectic. I know, it's a Monday, so I had a lot of calls in the morning. I actually think my busy day, or my busier day, will probably be tomorrow. Because I gotta get my way into the office. I'm expecting a call back from my mechanic about scheduling a point to get my car brought in. I have to go into the office, prep some security badges. I think I might be doing onboarding for a new employee, which is pretty typical for Tuesdays. There's something else going on. I'm just going to run past the ghosts this time. I don't need to use a Transient Curse every time I come through here. Back over that way is like the earliest Firekeeper soul you have access to, which we grabbed way back when. That is lethal drop. I think there's a trick around here or something to like get out of bounds, and there's some out of bounds shenanigans that gets used in like speedrunning. I think I could just like kind of hit through that shield. Yeah, the Dark Hand actually counts as a shield, and it has the parry replaced with that grab attack is the way that it functions when a player is using it. So coming up through here, we have one of these goons, and we've got a ghost on the left and a dark wraith. We're going to pull out the dark wraith. Cool. Oh, 2 dark wraiths. My mistake. Whew. Pop a Transient Curse so that I have the option of killing that ghost. I see an item on the right-hand side. Oh, that's right. These guys spawn exploding skulls. Kill ghost. Let me see. So I can get out here and get an item? Okay. Or Soul of a Proud Knight. Kill that ghost. Yeah, I think the boss is like behind something. There's like a small building that I need to find. Are there stairs back there? No. Is there a way out on the left over here? Yes. Dark Wraith ahead, apparently. Noted. I can hear him behind me, doing stuff. Sinister-like. That was way too early of a dodge. And we'll backstab him? No? That's alright. He's not long for this world. Okay. So... that is the beginning area again, but that over there, I believe, with the fog door, is our goal. We need to change out our equipment to... where is it? The Covenant of Taurus. Without this, you literally cannot, like, walk and live in this place that we're going. You just fall to your death. So we'll head on down here. So this boss, the Four Kings, is pretty much a pure damage race. I think I've commented on this a couple of times. Once long ago, there were like 4 Kings of New Londo, which I believe was created after Anor Londo, but failed. And similarly to us taking down the 4 Lord Souls, these individuals each kind of collectively possessed 1 Lord Soul. They kind of split. So this area is just a pitch black, empty void with a boss. It's just perfectly flat terrain as well. I can almost never tell what the boss is actually like. I don't have a great feeling for the boss's telegraphs or anything like that. I don't know what his hitboxes are like. But we can't wait while we're fighting him. If we try to fight him safe, more 4 Kings will spawn. We can take 1 hit, and that's about what we got. So I'm seeing for his down, his like straight down slash. Looks like we can probably dodge that just by strafing off to the right. But I believe he does have like a cleaving attack or a horizontal slash that we have to be wary of. Okay, so let's see. I did have to run into that building with the big Slugman thing and go to the left there, and there were like 4 Dark Wraiths along this route, maybe 5. And now I don't have the Steel Stoneplate Ring equipped. So my defense has gone down to 104. I'm not sure what the 20 in parentheses even is. Really not familiar with the way the stat readouts work in this game. They are very, very opaque systems. That is one aspect of Dark Souls that I believe is really poorly designed, is stats that are very, very difficult for the player to understand. I can understand how to get more of numbers, and I can understand that having high numbers means I take less damage or do more damage or things like that. But it never shows, like, does this provide a percentile reduction? Does this provide a flat reduction? The real answer is, like, both. Cool. He hesitated. That's not an illusory wall. It's just a regular... Oh, snap, really? Huh. Oh, he got us on the end of the cut there. I guess that is an illusory wall with an item back there that's probably unimportant for us. Oh, you know what? I might want to go get... No, I don't have the Titanite Chunks to get a weapon upgrade right now. And I don't know if anybody sells them at all in Dark Souls 1. I think in Dark Souls 2 and 3 you can eventually buy Titanite Chunks from certain people. But in Dark Souls 1 you gotta find them all. And I think I would need to find at least 3 more of them to get a plus 15 weapon. Because I could try a plus 15 weapon with a resin against the 4 kings. That would give me more damage, and the fight is all about cramming as much damage as possible into a very short window. In a run with Pyromancy enabled, you handle most of this fight with the Combustion spell, which is just a kind of short-ranged fire burst. It's the Burning Hands of Dark Souls. But Combustion and Great Combustion have a lot of uses. So when you're playing a Pyromancy build, it's also one of your standard attacks. It's your melee fire spell, so to speak. Super glad that I can just jump down here. That does simplify a lot of this. I think part of why I'm getting that wrong is I'm trying to do the roll while locked on, and it's very difficult to roll on... While you're locked on, you have basically a 4 directions roll. I'm going to try and see if I can just run through here real fast. And avoid everything. And get to the boss. Yes, I can. Go me. Because I don't... Okay, they will definitely follow me through here. At least the ghost will. I'm not sure about the others. Maybe. Probably. I'm probably being followed right now. It's fine. I can land at the bottom and then chug an Estus. I don't really have the time or need to chug Estus during the boss fight. Slurp. Let's go! Whee! Yeah, so naturally this is also a good use case for like for things like Power Within or Red Tearstone Ring that give you additional damage. I might actually try using a Red Tearstone strat for these guys and just try to not take any hits. Oh right, they throw magic too, if you're far away from them. But like, don't be far away from them. It's a bad idea. Oh wow, it's that homing. Okay. Huh, that's not much damage. That was plenty of damage. I think he got a counter hit on that. Either that or it was a sweet spot and the other attacks were not. Going unlocked is pretty helpful here, so I'm definitely going to do the fight unlocked. Let's see. I'm reasonably certain that they're vulnerable to fire and that this is my optimal weapon for the fight anyway, even though it's not doing a whole lot of damage. This is one of those bosses that's never going to stagger no matter what, so there's that. Well, that's only half true. The boss staggers when he dies, and there are 4 of them, so he can be killed like 4 times. I mean, there aren't actually 4 of them. They will actually come at me ad infinitum. It's possible for 5 4 kings to spawn. It's possible to kill him with only 3 of them spawning. It's goofy. Okay, so the screw it run strat did seem to work fairly well, so I'm definitely going to be replicating that. Oh, I woke that hollow up by stepping on his head. Excuse me. Okay, that had at least enough tracking to get me. I'm going to move up a little bit before I chug. Cool. Not a problem. Yeah, it's possible to set up a red tier stone ring by just, like, doing a couple falls in this little stairwell. Tricky, though. I could also possibly set up the red tier stone ring before trying to jump in, but then a happenstance like what happened just now with that Dark Wraith would completely kill me, which might be a little uncomfortable. Sips. Now, I believe he always spawns the same part of this arena, but I'm super disoriented on landing, so I'm not going to reliably know where that is. Except that I can look at my thing here, and I think, yep, he will necessarily respawn over there. Sort of. That's a magic attack. Man, that's bitchy. Excuse me a moment. I'm gonna take a sec to chug. I have. Oh, that's a grab attack? Oh, he has the Dark Wraith grab. I never knew that. Is this lethal? No, I didn't think so. Weird telegraph. Okay. So that's the time we have to work with before a second one shows up. So individually, they don't do a crazy amount of damage, but we got two of them up pretty fast. We did not do enough damage in that window of time. So I am actually going to go see Andre and see about upgrading a weapon, because we're not doing enough damage to fight this boss well. We might try swapping off to the giant blacksmith hammer, but I could have sworn this boss is vulnerable to fire. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, it's basically any amount of Estus usage is going to mean that we're fighting too slow. So we're going to modify it. We can now take the reinforced from 10 to 11. And reinforce it, the 11 to 12. And that's all we get for now. So at the 13 point, it inflicts 223 damage, which I believe is the point where it starts to beat out the raw version of the weapon. Yeah, because the raw version is still currently doing a little more damage, so it's at the plus 14 that the normal reinforced club will do more. Let's see. I'm gonna swap off to that. So I might actually need to farm Titanite Chunks for a little bit to finish off this upgrade path, and then I can have a much stronger weapon. Where else can I get Titanite Chunks? Alright. I'm going to consult the internet super quick. DS1 Titanite Chunks. Okay, yeah. It's a common drop from Dark Wraith Knights. There are a lot of crystal lizards that drop them in various places, and there is actually a bit of a percentile chance there. Black Knights will drop them. So there are 2 Black Knights that I know I can go after in the very first area. Okay. Rare drop from Royal Sentinels in Anor Londo, which we're not going to bother with. And then behind an illusory wall in a chest in New Londo. Okay. So there were 2 of these that I think are reasonable for us to get in like kind of short order. So I'm going to head over to the Sunlight Altar. Ugh. Feet falling asleep a little bit, so sit on. Blech. Move my feet. Okay, the Hellkite Dragon is no longer here to clear out this bridge for us. Okay, whatever, dude. So we're looking to head down here. And then, wait, where is the thing we kick? The ladder. Here we go. I'm actually just going to drop down here. It's marginally faster than using the ladder. Rest here. So there are 2 Black Knights in the Undead Burg we're going to be chasing after. We need to clear out a number of regular guys so they don't stagger us while we're trying to fight the Black Knight. I'm trying to not trigger backstabs on a lot of these guys because it'll take longer than just like running over and hitting them normally. Okay, our first Black Knight is like down and around in one of these areas. Trying to remember. I think he's like back around and down here. Or is he up at the top of this? Is this a different guy? Oh, it's a different tower. It's either a different tower or I'm thinking of Dark Souls 3. Shoot, man. Dark Souls. I'm thinking basically there is a Black Knight that's down a lower path. I think it might be over here. Yep, there he is. Hey, buddy. Let's fight. Yep, good for a Titanite Chunk. And then here we'll grab the blue Tearstone Ring, which is not useful for us. It's only useful in a game where you have real stats. Blue Tearstone Ring causes you to take less damage when you're missing a lot of health. If we're missing a lot of health, no amount of less damage is going to cause us to live. The other one we're looking for is up a tower and is using a Black Knight Ultra Greatsword. And I believe that tower is either one of the 2 towers that's like near Solaire, or it is before the gatehouse, or I'm thinking of another game. I'm thinking it's the one before the gatehouse, which would be at the parish. But I am going to check back over this way. Oh, you didn't die. I commend you. Yeah, so it might be one of those 2 towers. Gonna check on this. Is Solaire still hanging out over here? He is. You know, that's the best spot for Solaire to hang out. Everything else in the game is sad, and I'm going to spare him from it. Okay, yeah, this is the Taurus demon fight, and then this is after the Taurus demon fight. You come down this way, blah, blah, blah. And then over here leads to the depths. So I want to go to the one at the parish, which is across this bridge. And then I think it's one of the, like those towers over there on the other side of this. Now they're going to start shooting crossbows at me, like goons. Look at you. Yeah. Shields are nothing in the face of a +10 fire weapon. Right. I'm going to take a quick rest here. so that if this guy kills me, I can respawn more conveniently. And I believe he's like in a little offshoot around here somewhere where I can go like up a long staircase. Shoot, where is that? Back over here? No, there's nothing here. Kill you. This doesn't open, right? Nope. I think I'm completely misremembering this, and it's just in a different game. There's a Black Knight around here. Well, around an area that's similar to this. Yeah, that's got to be a thing in Dark Souls 3, where there's like a Dark Knight with a Black Knight with an Ultra Great Sword in like some correlative of Undead Parish. Okay, so with that guy taken out, I got his Titanite Chunk. I think there might be some things around Sen's Fortress, but I think I already killed the giant there. I killed the giant that throws the things, but I didn't try the giant that sets the pots rolling, and I think he might drop a Titanite Chunk. Let's see. Somebody just send me a notice on something? I just got pinged. Probably a Discord ping? Oh, okay, yeah, I can respond to that later. Somebody added me. Because I have business to take care of when I get around to it. Okay, let's see. Da 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 da. And our Londo stuff. There are 2 of them in the new Londo Ruins. One of them is in that chest that was behind the illusory wall that I just found. And then after that, I'm basically just kind of farming Dark Wraiths is probably the most convenient way for me to upgrade this weapon, which is saying a lot because it's not a convenient process by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just going to use a Homeward Bone and head back to Firelink Shrine. And while I'm doing that stuff, I'm going to turn on more light in my room because this is getting spooky. Nah, this is just not super well lit. Okay, I think that's better. So we'll warp to Firelink. Yeah, I think I vaguely remember where the gold Covetous Ring is, but only vaguely. Alright, so I've got 2 Titanite Chunks right now. Is that what I needed for the next level? Or am I at the point where it requires 3? I think I needed just 2. Yeah, okay. So now I'm at the point where it requires 3 to go to 14, and then it'll be a slab. So I need to get 3 more Titanite Chunks off of Dark Wraiths in order to complete the upgrades of this weapon. And there might be some slight alternative places where I can get Titanite Chunks, but not that many at this point. I'm not sure if maybe I've missed a Crystal Lizard or 2. If I have, I think that I probably missed them over in the Duke's Archives, because that place is kind of obnoxious. I remember there are a couple of them in the kind of crystal caverns as you head down to Seath. There's a few of the crystal lizards. Apart from that, I think I've actually found most of them. You know, I don't remember if the dialogue ever updates for the Smith down here, or if he has anything else to go over. Hey, buddy.
What weapons have you bought?
Nope, nothing. He doesn't even really have cool stuff to buy. He's just like loosely a mage. Yeah, there's never any point in the game where the smiths will go hollow or do something peculiar. Although you can kill any of the smiths. You can even kill Andrea Varstora. If you kill all of the smiths, though, you will not be able to upgrade your weapons, and you'll be completely screwed. From what I recall. Because there's no, like, default way to do it. In Dark Souls 2, if you kill important NPCs like that, I believe you can talk to their, like, you can talk to the spirit of them, or there's like a tombstone you can interact with in order to gain the benefits of their services. To which I say, like, what cowardice. Like, you have to go so out of your way to kill these NPCs, why not just actually punish people for doing it? Okay, come on. Come on across that. Yeah, I think the thing that makes New Londo tricky is not just the fact that there are Dark Wraiths, it's the fact that, like, the Dark Wraiths are very unkindly placed. There we go. Yeah, the drop rate on them for the chunks, I think, is actually fairly good. But even with the fairly good drop rate, we're not finding them. Okay, so 2 more and we can upgrade the weapon. I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to keep making attempts on the boss, but I might fight more of the Dark Wraiths on the way than I usually would. And then if we get the weapon upgraded, we'll start doing the direct route. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that the fast route down to do this is the spot that is after this building. You just kind of try to cleverly drop right down to that and try and activate this skull. And this guy totally respawns if you kill him, so there's no avoiding him, really. Yeah, I think there's theoretically a way to drop down into this area. Ah, this is too many guys to deal with at once. Especially with the ghosts. Can we run to the boss? Yeah, I think we're just gonna head through the boss door and not deal with all this. And let's remember, we're gonna go through and fight this boss, to equip the ring that says we don't die immediately when we fall down here. Okay, yeah, they're all trying to get through the fog door, but the fog door actually stays up there to block out enemies from following you in here. Okay, so now I do think that we can get more damage even at this point out of the, like, plus 13 weapon we have and the charcoal pine resin. So I'm going to do that. So the number one thing that has me annoyed about trying this is that magic slice attack they're doing. I really don't see a way of dealing with it, considering it will arc completely back around to get me. Oh, didn't have 2 hands on the weapon for some reason. I think using certain items takes a hand off the weapon. Yeah, so he goes and does this, and now, like, that's in play. And how many times do I have to avoid that before it's actually gone? Looks like twice at least. Maybe 3. It's still going. I think that's the grab. Oh no, he exploded. I forgot they could do that. Okay. Note to self, they've got a kaboom attack that I need to be aware of. But yeah, that magic attack actually circled about like 3 or 4 times. It can even go like under things and back over them, and it's just a pain in the neck. Oh, also, the next time I go in, I'm gonna have to check the damage readout for comparison. and make sure we're actually doing more damage with this setup. Because if not, then we'll just keep using the current weapon until we get the Titanite Chunks necessary to finish the upgrade path on the other one. Now, Gwyn is kind of an endurance fight, so for that fight, we're not going to use a resin strat, because we don't have the time to use a resin. And I still haven't decided whether I'm going to try fighting him by parrying him, or fighting him normally. I think fighting Gwyn normally is reliable. He's got some noteworthy openings you can exploit. He's vulnerable to he actually will take bleed procs. So the spiked club is a pretty great weapon against him. He's vulnerable to fire, so fire weapons are good against him. And he's one of those bosses that is like, oh, actually vulnerable to fire, despite, you know, what you might assume. It's like another boss that I'd say is deceptively vulnerable to fire is the Demon Fire Sage. But Gwyn, despite, you know, running around with a big flaming greatsword, or claymore or whatever, actually vulnerable to fire. He's not a fan of ignition, as it were. Okay, guys, let me just try the boss. I'm just going to keep killing the one Dark Wraith on the way in, and if I ever get the chunks I need, then good, we'll go with it. So I'm going to check the damage readouts after this fight. So I think loosely it is reliable for me to, like, wait for him to do an attack, dodge the attack, and get in like 2 or 3 hits. And that is a methodology I can try using here. I don't know if that's going to be enough, though. So I think we may absolutely need to go to a red tier stone strat. Use that as the benchmark again to start running towards where I expect the boss will be. And there he is. I forgot about that attack. That's the grab. No, that's the explosion. Not dead. Good. I need to stop whiffing. Ow. Ow. So that, like, dealt way more damage for some reason than the other stuff he's been doing. Come on, Dark Souls mechanics. So we were pretty close to having him dead before the next one showed up. I think we're doing about 232 damage, but that might have been off over the course of 2 hits. I had just a little bit of time to read the readout there. So if anybody wants to lend me a hand by watching those damage numbers as they come up and, like, just post them in the chat, I'd appreciate that very much. For the next fight, I'm going to come at him with resins. And we'll check how much damage we're doing with the resin strat. And I've got the resin at the ready. So we just got to change the weapon before we get into the fight. Yeah, I think that fight there, if I didn't get clocked by that spell on the way in, I might have been on track for damage. And I just need to stay on track for damage for killing all of them. And that's the tricky part, is keeping on track for your damage so that you don't have to deal with 2 of them in melee at a time. As far as the him not doing very much damage, I think it's another one of those things where he's got a bit of a sweet spot on his hitbox. And if I'm cutting in really close to him, I'm being hit by the hilt instead of the full blade. So we'll see what we can do about this. Just backstabs, nothing but backstabs. I am remembering that for the drops on them, they won't be automatically added to my inventory. I do have to actually check the corpse, see if he dropped anything. To keep my focus there for a little bit. Excuse me. So that's a trick that often sees used in speedruns, is you actually change equipment while you are walking through a fog door. I think it's super stylish. And yeah, speedrunners will change their equipment in fog door and elevators almost exclusively. Yeah, walking through fog doors or going up and down elevators, which are the only times that you're really like locked into a particular animation or activity. Okay, there we go. Let's check the numbers. Okay, what do you want to do? Okay, he's in a melee mood, that's good. Oh, that hit? Alright, so we didn't get to check our resin damage there because we got hit by some of the weirdest hitboxing. I got hit on the backswing for his last attack. Like, it was full-blown the back of him. He's just kind of doing these circular cuts. Yeah, the terrain and this battlefield works in a different way from most of the game. It's just the way of it. You know, I think I actually might just test these the damage numbers in the resin against a Dark Wraith, because I think the Four Kings have a similar defensive profile to a Dark Wraith. So I'm just going to use the basic Dark Wraith as a test, and I'm going to not backstab him, and I'm going to see if I can one-shot him or two-shot him on the basis of a resined weapon. And then we'll just run forward and use the so that we can get the rest of the resin use on the boss. And we'll see how that works. yeah, I definitely we were a little lacking on data after that run. Results not found. These guys do inflict a truckload of damage on us. Of course, part of that is we are not able to use the stone plate ring for this fight that we generally use in order to have a reasonable... Actually, no, it's not a stone plate. It's the ring of steel defense. We're not able to use that in this fight, as we have been using for most of the rest of the run to supplement our horrible armor. Okay, so... Oh, it's only it's 183 hitting the main body with this setup, which I think is way lower than what I was getting with just the fire weapon itself. So, that being said, I'm just going to use the fire reinforced club for this fight. I guess that's really fallen off. I have no idea what the numbers actually come out to. It's also possible that the Dark Wraith does have a different defensive profile relative to the boss. I don't know how that's set up, but I'm assuming they're at least similar. And I know that when I was using the fire reinforced club on a Dark Wraith before, it was two-shotting them cleanly. And there, the club plus 13 with the resin was definitely taking more than that. I think it's because with the resin, we're doing less than 200 fire damage, and... Oh, actually, hold up. So I think the resin is adding less than 200 fire damage, and the reinforced club actually does less than 200 damage as well. The difference here is that there's a hidden plus 63 there, so the physical damage on the reinforced club is actually like 280, and that is not factoring in wielding the weapon in both hands, I think. I'm not actually sure if it is or isn't. But, what's it called? The 12 strength that we have is not actually negligible in terms of scaling on a high-level weapon. So the reinforced club plus 12 makes use of that scaling, whereas the fire club zeroes it out and just replaces it with fire damage. There we go, I got the timing right. 254, I think that's pretty good. This is what I want him to do in an ideal fight. He almost like backswing killed me again. So while we swing at the corpse there, that is actually still depleting the boss health for a little bit of time. There's like a grace window on it. And because you can use that to hurt the boss, you can actually wind up dealing with 3 kings instead of 4. This is the explosion. That's the horizontal, and we get clocked by the magic because it's lame. Take the stab there. Alright. I thought that would not hit us, and I was wrong. Oh, that was the horizontal. I thought he was doing the vertical slash. We had them more than half dead that time. So the fire weapon, I think, is definitely the more effective strategy. Yeah, I think the Dark Wraiths, the 4 Kings, and Gwyn all have a fire weakness. It's and ultimately the game is actually pretty balanced in terms of these guys have a fire weakness. There are quite a lot of important enemies in the late game that have a lightning weakness, and there's the whole bit with Gravelord Nito, who has a divine weakness. That's actually faith scaling, but it's also magical damage. And I think magical damage actually works perfectly fine against Gravelord Nito. Honestly, magical damage is just so much of an easier way to play the game. Nothing needs to have magical weakness. You're already just having an easier time by blasting things from range. Most bosses give you plenty of opportunities to hit them with powerful spells. And there are also several spells that are just really easy to cast and do pretty handsome damage. You get like Homing Soul Mass, Crystal Homing Soul Mass. You can cast that in moments, and it will drain a boss's health pretty quick. I think in Dark Souls 1, Faith builds have really like middling tools, but you have a couple like unique attack buffs that are only accessible through Faith. I don't know if you have the Lightning Weapon Miracle in Dark Souls 1. I know that you have it in Dark Souls 2 and 3. We're dead. He didn't do the stab. He did the 4 sequence instead. The 4 attack sequences. Super deadly. I think it's actually like the highlight of Dark Wraiths that makes them much more dangerous than other enemies in the game. Is they have this pretty brutal 4 attack sequence, as opposed to like the attack sequences on Silver Knights and Black Knights. No matter what weapon they're using, their attack sequences are all wicked slow. Yeah, so as opposed to Manus, where we had these really short openings and we were using a lot of leaping attacks, the 4 Kings put us back to more of like the default patterning, where we're not really going to be doing that, because all the openings we have for the 4 Kings, we're able to stand very close to them at all times, and it's basically just go mode, like hit, 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 hit. We don't have any single attack openings for the 4 Kings. I think, if I remember correctly, there are a few opportunities against Gwyn where we might want to use leaping attacks. I think specifically the opening after Gwyn's grab, it's good to use a leaping attack. Hey there, 0 souls. I don't really need that, but whatever. There we go. Yeah, when they do the stab, I can very easily like move in and deal with them. And we cleanly 2-shot them with this setup. So yeah, it's like 90 more damage on a Dark Wraith with this weapon set. That's the difference the red Titanite slab makes. And this is the weapon we beat Monos with, so that was a decent time to go after. I swear, if I go back and watch the VODs and I found out that I like had a cutout during the Monos fight, ooh boy, that will probably convince me to drop money on a hard drive so I can store these recordings better. Oh, and I don't have the green soul down here as a marker because the Dark Wraith killed me. There you are. So I'm going to have a hike now. And he's definitely going to throw a spell at me. I have a really hard time judging the distance of that spell, too. So yeah, almost guaranteed that was going to happen. And that was another chop instead of a... that was another horizontal instead of a vertical. I have a very difficult time judging the timing on the horizontal slice, because I'm kind of too close to him to cleanly see the attack. And that's just a reality of this fight. It's a mess. It's a messy fight. A lot of people don't enjoy this fight, myself included. We have a very long run back, and I don't think the long run back serves much of a purpose, because we've got, like, one thing we actually need to fight during the run back. If we were playing a build that didn't have fast rolling, we would actually have to fight a few more enemies before getting down here. The fight serves an important purpose in terms of the game, in ensuring the well-roundedness of the player, because you cannot be too defensive against the boss. You need to be aggressive. But even like defensive builds that have like, if you have stats on your character, you're gonna kill the boss at an appreciable rate. And certain parts of the hitbox, as demonstrated, don't do terribly much damage. So you can actually just kind of hug the boss. You can block as much as you want, and just block and respond, same as you would anything else. If you have enough stats, you'll kill it. So, in some ways, the boss is discouraging you from being passive, but I don't think it necessarily, like, triumphs in that design. I think the idea of fighting somebody in a pitch-black field is really cool, like, as a design concept and as a thought. But I definitely don't appreciate it as a player, just like murking up the way the fight works. It's very difficult for me to tell how far away things are and what's going on. And the other thing about this fight is that tracking homing attack is actually just bullshit. I think it's maybe the most bullshit attack in the game, apart from maybe Gwendolyn's arrows. Yeah, ghosts can come on in here. They will not be stopped by the fog wall. They don't care about walls in the first place. Ah, I did it again. I was sitting on my feet. Now they're asleep. Eh. Oof. Why am I doing this to myself? I think you can technically jump off at a higher point at one of those other, like, little divots that are going into this well. I don't know if there's, like, a lore explanation breakdown for why the boss is at the bottom of a well, or if this just happens to be the wayward falling down into the abyss where we can fight them. That's the grab attack. And I have no idea where that grab attack actually hits. So I'm not really sure what to do about it. I think I should probably just give him space when he does it, I guess. That's the one with the backswing, and I happened to not die, which was nice. I appreciate that very much. This is the explosion. The more times he does the explosion, the likelier I am to die, because it's absolutely the one attack that buys him the most time. Apart from this magic spell that will randomly hit me soon. Oh, that hit? Sure. Whatever. And now we have this again. I hate that attack so much. That hits from that range. Okay. I have no idea how far his attacks actually go. Like, it's basically just yes. So that was truly awful. I'm assuming, and I'm gonna assume until I find out otherwise, that the grab attack is very short range, and I should just keep my distance on it a bit, which is simple for me because it looks a little bit visually similar to the explosion where my reaction is the same. Just like stay away. It does take long enough for the other kings to kind of close in, that if I don't kill the first king before the second king spawns, I still have some leeway to kill him, but that does not bode well to the subsequent kings. In my best attempt, I had the boss at half health with the second king still standing, so I believe that in order to kill the boss fully, I will not have to get all the way through the health bar for the fourth king. I might be able to get the kill on the third king if things go my way. But some amount of this boss fight might just be me getting lucky on behaviors, because it's not actually a terribly long fight, unlike, say, Manus, Kalameet, and Artorias. Those bosses you actually have to have down pat. You have to know exactly what they're doing, and you have to respond to everything they're doing correctly. In a 4 Kings fight, you could just have an instance of the fight where they don't do the explosion, or they don't do the grab, and then you just won't have to play around those. I get the feeling that if I respond to the grab correctly, I'm going to get in a lot of damage, but I don't know what the correct response actually is. And I don't know if I have the tools or capacity to learn. Like, I'm not sure how to begin experimenting with that. Ah, took a stab there. Part of the rubber guard on the controller joystick is coming off, and I might need to find a way to do something about that. Earlier on in the run, I was using a wireless controller that is a lot newer that I could switch back over to, but it disconnected me about twice, and I said no traders allowed in the run, and I switched over to this wired controller. It works. It's off-brand a little. I don't know if I had a first-party wired controller around somewhere that maybe I could try out instead. There's my soul. Yep, starting off with the magic attack. It's probably just best to let that hit us like 80% of the time, if that's coming out. Look at how that mysteriously did, like, no damage. I wasn't sure that was going to hit us or not, so I just didn't dodge. I whiffed there. It was bad. Oh, that hit us with, like, the back of his elbow. That's the explosion. And I didn't get out in time, but I didn't die. This is the point where his weapon is just huge, and I have no idea how far away I actually need to get in order to avoid attacks. See there, it turns out I was not actually close to him, go figure? Super weird how that happens. We'll get in an extra 2 attacks on him. And we'll head over to this guy who was polite enough to wait for us. That was a nervous roll. It's a bad idea. I'm not sure if I needed to roll there either. We'll make sure we have a full stamina bar for finishing him off, so we can make a couple extra attacks. We got 2 hits in. That's pretty cool. That's the explosion. I think I'm dead. Nope, not dead. Cool. Chug a little. That's the grab. Oh, okay. He will just keep moving on that. So that's how the grab do. And there's last guy over there. He's hanging out. He might decide to kill us. We'll see how this goes. I wasn't sure if that would hit. Turns out it did, and we got killed by the backswing. There is no other boss in the game where you can dodge into the backswing and get killed. Like, that's not even a thing. If I locked for a side dodge, I feel like I would be way too far away from the boss. When you get down to it, that was not actually a bad attempt, despite, like, being pretty slow about it and taking a lot of weird hits. So that's the behavior of the grab attack. He just keeps going forward, perhaps ad infinitum. I have no idea how to avoid that. It might be that I need to get behind him. It might be that I just need to keep running away no matter what. Super weird. But ultimately, the thing that's most frustrating to me about this boss fight is just the weirdness of the hitboxes. Just got, like, I got hit by an elbow on, like, his thrusting attack, because I was behind him when he did it. And that's a hitbox, I guess, sure. I've been killed by the backswing on his downward cut twice, but only the second hit of the downward cut is getting me on the backswing. Part of me feels like in the back of my mind the boss is saying, like, just as planned when that happens, like a smarmy jerk. Like, no, I clearly avoided that attack. Give me a frickin' break. Oh no. Am I dead? Okay, he didn't do the full sequence. Yeah, if he goes into block, I can just start wailing into the block, and it will usually get me the kill on that. No big deal. Alright. The reason why I'm starting up a roll there when I'm, like, doing this boss run is those zombie horde guys have, like, a pokey mouth needle attack thing that I'm trying to make sure I avoid. So at about the point when I line up with his mouth, I do a roll preemptively to make sure I'm not getting attacked by that. I think I can just do this. Yeah, because no matter how fall, you're getting a falling damage negation coming in here for having the ring on. There we go. Why does the boss need to spawn this far away? I don't understand it. Oh, okay. I had to make sure I didn't get killed by his elbow there. I dodged that the wrong way. I need to be dodging that through to the left. And I'm going to the right because I'm getting in the habit of going to the right on his other attacks, like his vertical chops. But for the horizontal swipe, I actually want to dodge against the grain, which is the better way to dodge attacks in general, which is a lesson that gets drilled into you playing the Dark Souls 2 SL1, where you have shorter invulnerability on your dodges. And then that lesson gets stripped right back out of you if you're playing the Dark Souls 3 speedrun, not speedrun, SL1 run. Dark Souls 3 is Dodge Souls, and your dodge is really good in Dark Souls 3. It is kind of absurdly good. You have some, like, faster enemies as a response to that, but oh boy. So for those who are watching, if you have any bored friends on a Monday evening, If you're hyped for Elden Ring, if you want to get somebody else hyped for Elden Ring, or you want to relive the nostalgia of Dark Souls, please advise your friends to tune in. The only requirements I need to like bump my Twitch level, so to speak, is I need to have an average of 3 concurrent viewers over a certain period of time while streaming, and I need to have a certain amount of chat participation. I believe I need to have 5 people active in the chat at the same time. And with that, I technically start getting back, like, maybe inklings of money on Twitch. Although I understand the way it works is that you don't get anything until you've built up, like, $100 worth of ad revenue. So part of me is going to be saying there, like, I'd appreciate it if you occasionally watch some ads for me, because it will help me buy, like, a new hard drive or something. And, you know, ultimately, I don't consider that as being a high cost to you. That is the idea that, you know, maybe after a year of people occasionally watching ads, I can get, like, a free soda. I don't know. Actually, I'm thinking that, I think your Twitch status also improves where you show up on, like, the Twitch automated feed. And, having higher results there might help me to, like, run into other people. And I'd love to chat with some other people as, just as I'm playing a lot of these games. Especially, like, I have fun with Dark Souls, but the games that make me want to stream are the games that I'm going to be doing on Wednesdays. Things like Outer Wilds. I knew that was the grab, and I was thinking maybe I could get to the side of him. Things like Outer Wilds and the Ace Attorney series and Psychonauts, where I just get to, like, run around and experience an environment, those are the games I'm most excited about streaming, and I think those are the games that, like, I most want to have an audience to, like, pal around with for. He didn't do the follow-up on that. I'm confused. This is the explosion? 2 dodges is not enough for the explosion. It's got to be either 3 dodges or I have to do some running. I might have had the time to the 3rd dodge. I think I just thought I was good. It's also possible that during one of these fights we'll be at a case where I can get the kill while he's charging the explosion. I think the explosion charge is enough time for me to land 2 attacks, so if I'm 2 attacks away and he starts an explosion, I should actually try to finish him off. Which could turn out to be relevant, because we were having the other guy spawn at that time. I got the successful dodge on the horizontal attack there. I missed a little bit of an attack window on some other stuff. I have no earthly idea how to avoid the grab. Because he, like, spins around when he's starting up for it, too. I don't know if I can get behind him. I think the next time he does this, I'm going to assume that his spin is a fixed 360 spin, and I'm going to see what happens if I stand behind him, if I move around him as he's spinning. I'm assuming that he'll just completely turn to face me when he does the grab startup, and I'll get grabbed. But, I don't know, we'll experiment, we'll see what happens. It's possible that my only way out of this is distance. It's possible that my only way out of this is to, like, dodge him in a very, very short window during the startup of the grab, not during his charge. Because I think that it's probably, once his charge reaches a certain point, he does a grab hitbox. It might be that he has a constant grab hitbox as he is moving forward. This is dicey. I might die. Didn't die. Cool. Quick chug. No Titanite Chunks for me. Yeah, I really think if I want to get Titanite Chunks, it might be ultimately faster to go get the Golden Covetous Serpent Ring, then come back here and farm Dark Wraiths, which is huge pain in the neck to get a weapon that might be technically stronger for several bosses that I believe I've already killed. Yeah. The other idea we can do for this fight, of course, is a red Tearstone strat, which we can trigger by rolling back and forth on some of those bits of the stairwell. But if we're on a red Tearstone strat, one of the homing magic attacks will kill us, and the homing magic attacks are hyper bullshit, so that's the grab. Distance works. That's the explosion. I kind of expected that would hit me in that case, but I went for it because I've already used way too much time killing this first guy. I missed a hit there. Okay, that spin is actually, like, so abusively long. I dodged specifically away from him to avoid getting killed by the backswing there. I am adapting. Why are you evading? Okay, he just really wanted to use a magic attack, I guess. This is explosion, and I did not quite have the stamina to make that clean. We've got two of them actually in active attacking range, so I think that's probably just an L. Ow. Little dirty dude attacking when I absolutely can't see you. There's the explosion. Did he move towards me during that explosion? I really think he did. That was so early. Oh, that was so bad. Oh, I was about to have that fight recovered. I swear, he was creeping up on me while he was doing that explosion. I have not seen that happen in these other, like, I don't know how many fight attempts. Was that a different version of the explosion attack? I can't actually tell, though, if he was, because I can't, there's no guidelines for relative distance. There's no guidelines for relative distance, and the boss is using huge sweepy attacks all the time. I'm so close that attempt. I'm gonna be so glad when these guys are frickin' dead. That being said, once these guys are dead, we're going back to attempts on Dark Sun Gwendolyn, which does have a very long, annoying run back. Because I believe every time we need to run back from it, we're gonna have to... no, what was it that we had to do? Yeah, every time we need to do the run back for Gwendolyn, we actually need to warp to a different bonfire, and then run back from a different bonfire, if I remember correctly. It's pretty absurd. I don't know why they set it up the way they did, that being killed by Gwendolyn will... Yeah, we need to run to a different bonfire, and then we can warp to Gwendolyn. That's right, that's what the run back is. Every time we get killed by Gwendolyn, we need to run to the Duke's Parish. Or not the Duke's Parish, but we need to run to the Duke's Archives. I think I can get a swing in there. There we go. Titanite Chunk? No? Okay, buddy. You're useless. Yeah, every single time we do that fight and lose, it's going to respawn us at Gwyn's bonfire in Anor Londo that has no Firekeeper because we killed that Firekeeper like an idiot. And so, anytime that happens and we want to do that, we're going to have to run over to Seath's place, the Duke's Archives, and use the first bonfire there, which thankfully will allow us to warp directly to Gwyn, because there is a bonfire right in front, to Gwendolyn, because there is a bonfire right in front of Gwendolyn. But we can't respawn at the bonfire right in front of Gwendolyn. It just doesn't. It's like, no, that is my bonfire. You can't use that to fight me.